Welcome to today's episode. We're going to go a little different today. So here's the thing. I'm always talking about the importance of well-being of your body and self-care and eating well and walking and exercise and movement and meditation and quiet time and all those things, right? Because we know that everything's reciprocal. The energy of our body feeds off the energy of your environment, and the energy of your environment feeds off that of your body. So it's important that we address both. I mean, you can feng shui the heck out of your house. You can have everything clear of clutter and organized and labeled and beautiful. But if you're not being mindful of your body, it doesn't matter. It's not going to be balanced. Just like when we use the Bagua map and we want to balance, we have one area that's off balance, then it's going to create an imbalance everywhere else too. It affects everything. So today's episode is really important. I hope you enjoy this interview with Cathy Eads. Welcome to Feng Shui Living, the podcast designed for busy women who want to de-stress, live with intention, and create a home that truly supports their well-being. Each week, I'll bring you practical tips, insightful ideas, and simple strategies to enhance both your home and your life. Let's get started. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Feng Shui Living. I'm your host, Lisa Morton, and I'm so happy because we're doing an interview today. You guys know I used to do a lot of interviews, but I decided, maybe last summer to really shake things up and really just do interviews of people that I just really love and that just I'm just being more selective of interviews, and I'm so excited to have today's interview. Cathy Eads is joining us on the Feng Shui Living podcast. Cathy spent over 2 decades as a stressed out type A sales rep, an anxious mother of 3. In 2021, she recreated her life as a happier, healthier, blissed out yogi, and now helps her clients use the same methods she uses to relieve stress, relieve anxiety, and reduce pain. Welcome, Cathy.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm really happy to be one of the chosen few that will interview. So I feel extra honored to be here. And I think that your mission with your podcast and mine are just really aligned. So
Oh my
glad to be
gosh.
here.
Well, I want to hear more, but quickly, I think it's so great that we are definitely in that same boat of we've been there. We know how awful and yucky that place can be, and now we want to help people. And so I'm just so happy we were connected and that we're able to do this recording today. Can you take a few moments to share a little more about yourself and your life and where you live and everything?
Yeah, sure. I am originally from Kentucky, but I've lived in Georgia for almost 23 years. So farm girl, now city transplant. And I do have 3 young adult children. And I've been personally been practicing yoga for over 20 years. So I will have to say that I started simply because it was something that I could watch on TV and do alongside my kiddos when they were young. And I strictly was into yoga for a physical way to move my body. I didn't know anything about yoga more than that. I simply thought it was a form of exercise.
Okay.
And so as I practiced and learned more, I was like, oh, there's something else shifting for me. Like it does make me feel physically good. And then for years and years, just I was a student and, my kids would know like mom rolls out her mat, the dog comes over, the cat comes over, she needs her 30 minutes. But then I went through a period of about 10 years and I look back on it now and it was stressful in the middle of it, but I look back on it now and like, it was big for me. One of my children got very, very ill and I had to coordinate all of that care. And I was not sure if that child was going to survive that. And that was very stressful. At the same time, my then husband was starting a business that we were fully funding ourselves, which put us into about 6 figures of credit card debt that we were trying to manage over about a decade. And then the marriage just started to slowly unravel. So all of these things. And then I was running my own small business at the time as a salesperson. So I was under just a lot of stress and I tend to be a little of an anxious person anyway. So everything was heightened all the time. And I never would have dreamed that I would have gone into a teacher training program. But in the middle of my divorce, I felt like I just need to go. I need to go learn how to be a yoga teacher. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I might never teach a class. But that is when I learned about all the different parts of yoga that are so much more about our mental and emotional well-being, as well as our physical health. And the fact that yoga is a way of life, not just an activity. And I now look back and I'm like, golly, I wish I'd had these tools when I was younger. I would have been a more patient mom. I would have probably been a better spouse. So many things would have been different. And now that I have these tools, I really enjoy sharing them with other people, because it is such a much more peaceful, grounded, and content way to live. And I just think the entire world would be a better place if more people had tools to be more centered and just not as reactive. I used to be a very reactive person. And now things can happen and I take a pause and decide how I'm going to respond rather than just an immediate reaction. So that's kind of where I came to this work that I'm doing. And of course, as soon as I finished my teacher training program, I began to teach immediately. I was like, I'm just going to hit the ground running. And then this has worked itself into working one-on-one with private individuals, so I can customize everything just to that individual person, which I absolutely love because they feel very connected to the practices because they're just for them. And they also feel a lot more immediate results because everything is catered to what's going on with their body, with their life outside of what we're doing. So it's really fulfilling when somebody says, "Oh, I feel really energized but totally relaxed. How can that be?" And I'm like, "That is exactly what we're going for."
I
So,
love that.
yes.
That's so great. Wow, you just like unpacked so many wonderful things. I wish we could dive into all of that. One thing that I think is fascinating is sometimes after you're into that yoga practice, you don't even realize the benefits until you have this like aha moment.
Hmm.
I actually was traveling a few weeks back and we had terrible flight delays, issue after issue. And I mean, I too have been practicing for a long time, but I'm sitting there thinking, wow, I'm the most relaxed, easygoing person on this plane. Like maybe we all need to do some breath work together, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's after the fact you're into it and you don't even realize how it's benefiting you sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. And
Mm,
and I sometimes I have to remind myself that something it's really agitating for someone else because they just they are the way that I used to be, and I feel for them. Like I feel when people are very easily irritated and very reactive because I'm like, it's not a fun way to live. It's
hmm
our nervous system gets so heightened and it never comes all the way back down to that nice calm place for a lot of us. And when it finally does, I will,
hmm
I'll notice, like you said, I'll notice like, wow, everybody's really worked up. And then I'm like, oh, wait, I understand why. Like I have
hmm
been there. I do understand that. So I have compassion for people that are in that place.
hmm
But I think all of us have an avenue we can take to get to a calmer, more peaceful existence, whether it's yoga or Tai Chi, or maybe it's meditation or a combination of many things. I really see the value in them.
hmm
And I think we all kind of find our own way there eventually, hopefully, because it's just such a more gratifying way to live. That I don't know
hmm
how to explain it exactly, but it's just like this contentment.
I
I
love that.
sometimes describe it as this inner strength or peace that nobody can take that from me. I have that in me, and everybody does. That's what I
hmm
tell my clients. I'm like, the peace and that tranquility, like that calm that you want, that release of anxiety to be in a state of calm, it's in you.
hmm
We are working for you to, like, you're reclaiming it through this work.
hmm I love that.
So,
Reclaiming it. I
yes.
love it. Oh my gosh.
We're
Wow.
born with it. We're born as peaceful, sweet little babies, and
And the
we lose it.
world just
Yeah, I mean, we just lose it, but it's in us always. We just have to do the work to find it again.
hmm Oh my gosh. I really love your mission. Well, so let's talk about it's that time of year we're thinking about what's next, right? I know a lot of people are like big goals, but I'm like, let's just go a little more simple, a little softer, a little smaller, and just put together, you know, there's some simple self-care tips. So, could you maybe give some advice on creating a self-care strategy, routine, if they're starting from scratch? And, because they might have this thought in their head, oh, I have to walk 10,000 steps every day. And I have
Oh,
to cut out all these good things that I ate over the past few weeks, right? Or they might have these big ideas, but sometimes it's smaller, softer, and just simple things that you can put in day to day, weekly routines, maybe even something you do monthly. What do you think about that?
yeah. Yeah. I think it's great to have that self care strategy, like you said, because the beginning of a new year, a lot of people are setting business goals and fitness goals. And, they're setting a lot of goals and putting plans into place for things that are kind of outward focused, I guess, in a way. Although fitness, I think, is inner focused too. But the idea of setting up your plan for taking care of yourself, I think for a lot of people is kind of a foreign idea. Like, well, what do you mean? Like, I get up every day and I take a shower and I eat my breakfast. It's
Okay.
and I like to say that self-care is, in my understanding of the words, I think is more than getting a massage or having your nails done or those types of things. It's the little choices you make every day that show that you love and deeply care for yourself. So it's those routine things that affect your mental, physical, emotional well-being, like keeping the same bedtime and wake time all the
Mm.
time. It's a very simple choice to make. It is a very hard thing to commit to and stick with for some of us. I will say I'm guilty of it too. Like
Here.
I binged one more episode. Just that kind of thing.
Yes.
Or the awesome book you're reading. But I find that bedtime waking time routine is one that really makes a big difference for all of us. The quality of our sleep is better. We feel more rested when we wake. We don't even need an alarm usually if we're getting good deep sleep and we're keeping that consistent bedtime wake time. Our body just knows, oh, this is when we wake up.
Mhm.
So I stress that with people a lot. I feel like three things that people can do are look at what you're already doing that's really working well, because sometimes we're setting goals we're looking to add or take away, but what are you already doing that every single day shows that you really love and care for yourself? Are you eating super clean healthy foods that your body responds well to? Like, if you're already doing that, then stick with that and
Mhm.
celebrate that, because sometimes we set goals too and we don't celebrate the things we're already doing so well. So
Ooh.
I like to have people recognize, what are you already
Okay.
doing that's really setting you up for success? And then what's one thing you want to add? Maybe it's small. Maybe it's the bedtime and waking time. Or maybe it's, I am going to, and I like the 4 days out of 7 rule, 4 out of 7.
Okay.
Give yourself the leeway. I just had friends come in for New Year's, a friend that I've known since she was 6 years. We were 6 years old. So we stayed up late for New Year's Eve and we had a glass of champagne and we enjoyed each other's company. Do I normally stay up that late? No, I know it's not good for me, but I need to live my life and enjoy it too. So if it means you stay up late once in a while, or you have that second glass of wine, or you eat that delicious chocolate cake for someone's birthday, don't deprive yourself of the joys of life to try to stick to your goals, because you can still meet your goals by generally sticking with everything 4 out of 7 days a week.
I
And
like
you
that.
won't feel like you're depriving yourself.
That's good. I
So,
recently, well, I kind of have to admit I have a sweet tooth. My husband has a sweet tooth. Like we don't
me too.
stock stuff in the house. You
It's
know, we eat,
dangerous.
I know we eat really pretty healthy, but just some of those sweets can just, if they're in the cabinet, they're calling your name about 9 o'clock at night.
Yes.
But something I really did inventory over this past year was I got really honest and decided some of these things I don't like. Why am I taking them in?
Hmm.
They don't, I realize I don't know how this took so long to put it together, but I don't love milk chocolate. Like a dark, dark, dark chocolate bar makes me so happy. And so,
Hmm.
and I'm allowing myself that, and I really love it. And I sit there with my little dark chocolate bites, and oh, they're so amazing. And I think
Hmm.
just like really slowing down and not only what does my body like, but just what makes me happy to enjoy
Yes.
once in a while.
Yeah.
That was
Agreed.
eye-opening.
Yeah. And keeping those things that really fill you and give you joy, as well as I think keeping the things that bring you joy and are caring for yourself.
Mm.
And then decide something you want to eliminate that would be good for you. For instance, I am guilty of looking at my phone in an hour before bedtime. I have I know that's my window. Don't look at the phone or any other screens, the computer, anything. No screens an hour before bed. I know my sleep will be better. I know that mentally I'll be more, calm, all of those things. I know this, yet sometimes I am tempted by the screen. um, but that is a goal for me right now, is making sure that I'm constantly asleep by 10 p.m. and I haven't looked at any screens after 9 p.m. And again, these are not complicated things. They're really simple, but the sticking with it and making it so routine that you're not making a choice anymore. It's just what you
Mm.
do.
Hmm.
That I think is really key. Once you've done it for long enough, you're just like, oh, this is what I do. This is my routine at night.
I have to
Um,
share a trick with you that we
yes.
implemented for to get to bed on time because
Hmm.
I could be the same way. We set an alarm on our Alexa, and so
Hmm.
she goes off at 9 o'clock, and that's when start turning down the lights, take the dogs out, do any
Hmm.
last picking up in the kitchen, and start winding down. So, and that has been huge, just setting a little alarm. Why do you not, again, like you said, it should be easy, but so I think we just have
Right.
so many things going on, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
much.
Yes. The simple things are not the easy things always. But
Hmm.
I think if we recognize they're simple, it's not hard to do the thing. It's hard to stick with the thing sometimes.
Hmm.
But
Mm.
I do love the idea of having that alarm. You just have something outside of you saying, "Hey, reminder, you want to take good care of yourself and get to bed on time." Yeah.
Reminder, don't start a new episode.
Right. Right.
Oh my gosh. So I'd love to learn more about like how you work with someone. Do you have any stories or experiences that you'd like to share about working with a client and what that looks like and how that works?
Yeah, yeah. I just finished working with someone who happens to be a mindfulness teacher herself. So I was curious as to whether I'd be helping her that much, because she's already really focused on this kind of inner work. Um, but when I set up to work with an individual person, we either meet once or twice a week, almost always virtually. I have a couple people I meet with that are local to me, but virtual just allows you to do it wherever you are, traveling, at home, whatever the case may be. And everything that I do is fully customized. So I check in the day of your practice or the day before and say, what do you want your focus to be this week? And with her, one week she was doing a presentation in her community, and she's like, I just really want to feel confident today, and I just want everything to go smoothly. So I want to be confident, but I also want to be really grounded. So I made sure that the physical asana yoga practice we did was a very grounding, but also an empowering practice. And so we were doing poses like warrior, so very strong
Mm,
poses, but also no, no tree pose, because that's a balance challenge. So we really wanted her to ground in
okay.
herself. And then I do customized meditations for people at the end of the yoga practice. So I wrote a meditation that was one that was also peace centered, but also strength focused.
Okay.
And then we did a little bit of breath work as well.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that's how generally how a practice flows. Sometimes we'll do breath work at the beginning or in the middle. It just kind of depends.
Okay.
Um, but she was, I said, "Are you sure, Megan, you know that this is going to be really beneficial for you, being that you're already doing, mindfulness work?" And she said, "Well, you're going to be my facilitator though. So I facilitate for other people, but I need somebody to facilitate for me to be the recipient." And I was like, "Yeah, that totally does make sense." So,
Mm-hmm.
and she used that example of, if I have an injury, I know what needs to be done. Say my arm gets broken, I know it needs a cast, I know it needs to be set, but I go to the doctor for that, and then my body will heal once they properly set it. So
Mm-hmm.
you're like my doctor, she said, for this
I
work.
love
And I was
that.
like, okay,
That's
that's
brilliant. That's a great way to describe it because you can get in your own way sometimes when you're just trying to do it all yourself. You need someone outside with a
yes.
fresh perspective, fresh set of eyes
Hmm.
to really help you sometimes. I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, and even as a yoga teacher, yoga therapist myself, I still go and work with my teacher. So I don't, it's not as if I am only a teacher and not a student anymore. I will forever be a
Mm.
student and continuing to grow my practice. So she was pointing out to me that what is obvious, but I needed it, needed her to clear it up for me.
So you had mentioned, I want to go back to something you talked about. You mentioned breath work, which
Hmm.
a lot of people know yoga. They know some poses, maybe they already are deep into a yoga practice themselves. Can you share a little bit about breath work and what it is and how it can benefit someone?
Yeah. So in the yoga world, the term is pranayama, but breath work is what pranayama is. That's just the Sanskrit term that we use. And so breath work is actually, I did some research on this for a project recently, and it was for my yoga therapy course. And for anxiety, breath work is actually the most effective practice that you can do. And I am more, more yoga focused in my practices, but I thought, okay, I need to bring more pranayama into my personal practice too. Instead of doing it occasionally, I need to make it a regular part of my yoga practice. But it's just controlling our breath. And so there are so many different types of pranayama. I'm still learning more, but one of the easiest ones, especially if you're agitated and you're trying to calm down and get your nervous system re-regulated, is to, and I call it the 60-second stress layer, which is a fancy name for calm, deep breathing with an extended exhale. So, and
Mm.
I feel if I'm in a position where, because I do want to take a moment to say, just because I do this work and I'm calmer now than I used to be, does not mean that something can't happen and I am reactive. I am still a human being. So a little more chill
I
than I
love
used
that.
to be. But I like to point that out. I am not the Buddha. So that is something to aspire to, I guess, but I think I'll be working on it always.
Oh
So
my
I
gosh.
just tell people, you're counting the seconds that you breathe in and make sure that you're bringing the breath like deep down so your belly expands,
Hmm.
because when we're irritated or nervous or anxious, we're breathing usually from up here in the chest. So by bringing the breath deep down into the lungs, that's helping to kind of slow the pace. And by slowing that pace of breathing, we're cueing the parasympathetic nervous system to come back on board, and just letting the nervous system know, like, we are safe. Maybe we feel anxious, maybe we feel nervous, but we're telling the body physically with the breathing that it's okay and that we are
Mm.
safe. So I often will tell people, inhale to a count of 4 and then exhale to a count of 6. Or maybe you inhale to 6 and you exhale to 8. And you can change it to go, you can lengthen the inhale and exhale a little bit more as you're practicing.
Hmm.
Because if you're really worked up, the breath is going to be shallow to begin with, and then you're just slowly bringing it down. So you want to practice one real
Yeah,
quick?
let's do
Okay,
it. Let's do a couple rounds. And if anyone's driving, pause until you get to your destination.
for sure. And I will say you can do this even if you are driving in traffic, but
Okay.
obviously keep your hands on the wheel and
Smart.
do not close your eyes.
Here we go.
But I every once in a while, yeah, if you're in a traffic jam, this can help to sort of bring back a little bit of peace if you're in a rush
Sitting
and
at the red light, you're getting honked at.
yes, yes, anxious to get where you need to be. So but if you're
Yes,
seated
perfect.
and can chill, I would encourage you to put one hand on your chest, right at the center, one hand on your low belly. And then if you feel comfortable closing the eyes, you can do that as well, or just cast your gaze down and kind of soften your gaze. And we'll just inhale deeply and just feel the breath as it comes in through the nostrils, hits the back of the throat, and then fills up the lungs. You can feel the belly expand. You might feel the chest expand a little, feel the collarbone lift. And then we'll exhale very slowly out through the nostrils so you can feel all the body relax down a little bit and feel that air flowing back out through the nostrils. And then we'll inhale again. Let's count to 4. And then exhale to a count of 6. And let's do that once more. We'll inhale to the count of 4. And exhale to 6. And then keep the eyes closed for just a moment and just notice the heartbeat, any shift that you might feel in the emotions or the state of mind. And then you can just relax the hands back down when you feel ready. And open the eyes.
Mm, that was so nice.
Thank you. I'm glad it was.
Mm,
I always ask people to think about like how do you feel at the end? If you make note before you start how you're feeling, then you can kind of compare. And then,
mhm,
also if you are feeling really worked up, you might need to do that several times before
mhm,
you really feel calmer, depending upon the situation that you're in.
mhm.
But I've even told people, like, if you're in a meeting at work and it's really tense, this is something you can do, and nobody really has to know that you're doing it. And if you don't feel like counting, just let that exhale be a long exhale. Just notice that it's long because it's that extended exhale that's a really key piece here. Bringing
Okay.
the breath deep in the lungs and then slow exhale.
I love it. I love it. It's so interesting because I do this a lot on my own. I do a lot of my own breath work, but like you were saying earlier, when you have someone else to lead you, it can just feel so elevated, just even a different experience. So,
Yeah. I think
oh
it's that
gosh.
you're being somebody's holding space for you and having this support of you, whether it's right in front of each other in person or virtually. It's there's still a connection, that human connection.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody is caring about your well-being in addition
Mm-hmm.
to caring for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, you know, people get overwhelmed with their homes and they're like, oh, I have to declutter everything. I have to organize everything. I have to feng shui everything. I have to redecorate. You don't have to do it all on your own.
No,
You know,
and
there's no,
Lisa,
get help. There's so many people to hold your hand, even if it's like small or like a big impact, like constant ongoing coaching or something.
and you mentioned something too that I want to reiterate. We also don't have to do it all at all. We don't have to do it all at once. I encourage people to make maybe 3 small changes over a course of a month or two and just focus on those things. Like even with what you do, you might even say to someone, just focus on this little section of the kitchen counter. And that's going to be our focus for a while. And then maybe the whole kitchen counter, or,
Yeah.
I feel like we sometimes bite off more than we can chew. And to think that you're going to immediately next week do all the things just right all the time
Hmm.
it doesn't set us up for success.
Right.
And
Because there's
ultimately,
also so many women that they want to do it themselves. And I am, I struggle with not being a human doing and being a human being.
Yes.
I want to do it all, right? I want to experience everything. I want to cook everything. I want to try everything. I want to go everywhere. But you have to be mindful of what is for you right now in this moment and maybe what can wait, right? Is it important to have your countertop perfectly clean, or is there one intentional thing you can remove that will help you drop your shoulders, right? I think it's putting it all into perspective.
Absolutely. Yes. I agree so much. We yeah, focus on the things that are really doable and that just like you said, the things that allow you to drop your shoulders and
And
relax and settle
smile. Yeah.
in.
Oh
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
gosh. Well, this has been so fun. I've really enjoyed chatting. And everyone, I am so excited. Cathy has shared just some amazing offers and discounts for you guys. And if you're in the newsletter, I will make sure you follow the newsletter. Head over to my website. I'll put a link in the show notes to sign up for my weekly newsletter that goes out with links to the weekly podcast on wherever you stream podcasts or you watch on YouTube. That little link will be there as well. So Cathy has a free 30-minute Feel Better Now session available, and I will add that link as well. Listeners also get $25 off a self-care success bundle. Oh my gosh, and a 30-minute private virtual session. That's amazing. That's really amazing. I'm so excited. So you can, I will put the link in the website and in the newsletter for that. And she has the code Feng Shui, all caps, one word, at checkout for $25 off. So much goodness for us. I'm so grateful.
Yeah. Well, I'm really grateful to be here and happy to offer those things to your
Mm,
listeners because I feel like um, you know, it's giving the
mhm.
goodness. So I'm
Well,
happy to share.
in the intro, I talked about how it's all reciprocal, right? Your body and your spaces. So that's why it's so important to talk about these things, how we can make our bodies feel better because we can approach our space all day. But
Hmm.
if our home is perfectly feng shuied and laid out and colored, selected carefully and everything, but yeah, we're eating McDonald's every day, right? It's just out of balance. So,
That is for sure. And
oh,
something else that you said too, with the wanting to do it all. What it made me think of was just because we can do it all doesn't mean we must or it's good for us or we should. So
mhm,
I think we're often capable of doing a lot more than what is necessarily just right for us.
that's good.
So
I love it.
that just popped into my head right there at the end. So
That's
when
good. I love it. I love it. Any other final thoughts?
Gosh, I think just making sure that our self care is part of our daily routine. Like just make it part of how you live instead of these little onesie twosie things that we think are treats every now and
Yeah.
then. It just needs to be part of our day. So
I love
keep that
that.
self care at top of mind.
Oh, Cathy, thank you so much for your time today. I hope you'll
Thank
come back
you.
sometime.
I would love to, Lisa. Thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, we'll do another check-in down the road and do another breath exercise or something. Maybe like mid-year, we'll see how people are doing, if they need a little, pep talk again. Um, but again, I will put all Cathy's information in the show notes. You can go connect with her, ask her questions, work with her if you're inspired to work with her. I mean, I love her energy, so I'm sure other people will too. Thank you again, Cathy. Everyone, I will see you at our next episode. Take care. Special thanks to our sponsor, Elevated Living School of Holistic Design and Feng Shui. For more information, head over to the show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, give us a 5-star review, and share this episode with a friend. We'll see you next time.